Welcome to another episode of the Urban Wall Street Project. I'm your host, Earl Christian III, of course, and tonight I have some dynamic brothers in the house. We're going to talk about a serious topic. It's unfortunate that a lot of brothers don't step up to the plate, but the reality is there's a lot of brothers that do, and we go through a lot of grief. But we're going to talk about being a father to your child, irrespective of what color you are, because we international with it. But definitely all my people in urban America, my black men, my black women, fathers, sons, recognize what these brothers are talking about, because this book right here, Be a Father to Your Child, an anthology, it's a serious situation. Without further ado, I want to introduce the writers, contributing writers, Kevin and Shaun. What's going on, brothers?
What's up, bro?
How you doing? Everything good, everything good. So Be a Father to Your Child, real talk from black men on family, love, and fatherhood. Edited by my girl, April Silver. Now, Shaun, talk to me about this book right here, brother.
Well, this book, April Silver is a well-known editor all around nationwide, and she decided, we refer to her as the mother hen of sorts, you know, but she decided that she was going to pull together 24 black men to write their stories about being fathers, growing up as sons, and just stories of redemption and stories that black men are never able to share. And she pulled these 24 men to write essays about their situations. Talib Kweli is in the book, Rhyme Fest, because a major part of the book was focusing on growing up as hip-hop generation people, and just how we were impacted through hip-hop music, and how that sort of became a savior in the absence of our fathers, and how it taught us to be fathers and things of that nature.
Right. Now, I was reading in your bio how you kind of rebelled from the hip-hop, so while all of us was probably dancing and bopping to the hip-hop, definitely I know me and Kevin on the HU days, you were like, I'm not feeling it, I'm gonna rock with my jazz. What was it that deterred you or kept you wanting to like really, you know, shun the hip-hop a little something?
Actually, that's the subject of my essay. When I wrote my essay, I decided that I wanted to really focus on, you know, sometimes our fathers do these little things, and you know, a little thing could go a long way in the life of a child.
Yes.
And one night, my father, you know, I was watching a hip-hop video, and he came in and he said something to me, and I just decided I wasn't going to listen to hip-hop, you know. And I listened to jazz music because that was the music that my father and I listened to as we were young. So I stayed listening to jazz music as a way of staying connected to him, and I rebelled against hip-hop music because it represented other things to me through him as well. So, you know, when I was in my 20s, that's when I started listening to hip-hop music.
Right. Now, Kev, I know you've been listening to hip-hop music.
Right.
I'm saying, but your contribution to this book, let's talk about your contribution to this book, brother.
My contribution is mainly about the child support system and dealing with the child support. Unfortunately and fortunately, I was a teenage father. My daughter was born when I was 19 while I was still attending Howard.
Wow.
So, and just in having to deal with that situation, I kind of went through, obviously, a difficult period. There was a time where I was taken to court for child support while I'm in class. I'm having to cut class in order to have to go to court. And then at some point, a couple of months after I graduated, I ended up getting custody of my daughter and then her living with me, and then kind of dealing with the reverse situation of taking the mother to court for child support, which was completely different. It's a completely different experience.
Right, I can only imagine. You know, and it's so great to see this. You know, I know a lot of times, you know, there's so many different, I think, factors that contribute and are attributed to, you know, black men that may not be fathers, you know, or different circumstances. A lot of times, you know, people want to put a stigma and a stereotype of like, we just don't want to be there because we just don't want to be there. But there's a whole lot of other things that come into play. And I think people forget that, you know, men, we are humans. And a lot of people think men are just physical beings. But I learned recently that we're just as emotional in certain aspects, and we need that certain emotional nurturing. But because we're men and it's not manly to ask for it, we don't ask. So sometimes our women or our communities may not think that we need it. Right. But that is definitely a factor that I want to talk about. But I know you brothers dropped some science. I know, Shaun, you got the this poem or the passage here, Jazz, Hip Hop, and My Dad in My Subconscious. And I really I like the title of that. And I want you to just share a little bit of it for my audience that's not here, but they're going to get the book. But I want you to share it for them so they can feel a little bit of what you're feeling.
Okay, no doubt. Thank you. I'll read two sections from it. The first section, it says here, "My father never called himself an alcoholic, but he drank a lot. I began realizing that he was a drinker during my middle school years. When my father drank liquor, his actions were no longer positive or awesome. His actions caused me to foster subliminal thoughts that something was wrong with me. The nights he drank, he hardly said a word to me. Instead, he'd drink and have phone conversation with a woman who wasn't my mom. Some Saturday nights, he'd have a drink or two and then take off, leaving us at home in Jersey while he spent the night in Brooklyn. My dad and I were once friends, but now his drinking led to actions that suggested he didn't want to be associated with my mother, brother, or me. We didn't even seem to matter. One of my first subconscious responses to my father's drinking was giving up on hip-hop music. So then the essay, it tells about the situation, which, you know, I'm not going to say because I'm hoping everyone will buy the book.
For sure, exactly.
But then I come back and, you know, in the absence of our fathers, our best friends sometimes take the role. So I tell this story about how I was in my early 20s when hip-hop manifested itself in my life again. My homeboy Saladin was driving me home from work one day. We made a stop on 125th Street so he could pay a bill. He got out the car but kept the music on while I waited. An Isaac Hayes song started to play, and then Jay-Z started talking over the music about hustling being an action of desperation. Then the tempo sped up, and in between yelling, "Can I live?" Jay was rapping about persevering through life no matter what problems lingered. What he was rapping must have taken the form of solid matter as it rippled through the air, because I felt Jay-Z's words hitting me. I felt the song reprogramming me. By the time Salahuddin returned, I realized that hip-hop was something I could associate with, and that I had to let go of conceptions I had subconsciously formed during middle school. But Jay-Z wasn't responsible for me reconciling issues with my father. I had learned that prayer and being grateful were means of feeding my subconscious. It's when I started to regularly give thanks for my father that I suggested to myself that my dad is of great worth to me. I took notice of the invaluable ways that he influenced me. As I started to pray for him to improve his lifestyle, the years of anger subsided. I gained faith that my dad still loves me. I learned that when black men begin to free our minds of the fears, worries, and doubts caused by deeply distressing or disturbing experiences with our father, then something inside will guide us to live the lives that we dream of having. And that's how the essay ends.
That's deep, brother, and I appreciate that. And that's amazing. And you know, I love how you showed I don't want to be associated with hip-hop because of, you know, a childhood memory or what I felt it represented or what it cost me or you know, or brought to me, I should say. But then also the realization that I'm actually maybe missing the understanding of what hip-hop brought to me by not accepting it and recognizing it a little bit. So I appreciate that. And it's so important because when I think about when you're reading the poem and I was reading some of the, you know, your bio and a little bit earlier, that hip hop culture, as much as I love the hip hop culture because truly it is our culture, the one thing we had. You know, we may have cultures now, but those were, you know, given to us because where we are. But that's one thing that we birthed, and I understand, I look at it from the positive and the negative. I'm happy to see that it is changing, but it is true that sadly, the image of black men, to young black men comes from this hip hop community, hip hop generated image. And that imagery is, you know, unfortunately it is misogynistic, and it might not show a degree of responsibility that we need to have to truly be fathers to our children and good husbands and fathers in all respects. But from when you read that poem and when you write the poem, what is it that you would want someone else who may have experienced what you experienced to gain from that?
My main want is for young black men, or not just young black men, but young men to understand that they're not alone, and that, you know, being without a father is a nationwide epidemic. You know, and so many of us, when we have these issues with our fathers, we just you know, I work with teens, and you could smell this coming out their skin.
Right,
you know, when they're just looking for different role models and things of that nature. But I think that it's just important for young men to understand that this is not something to cripple you. You know, you're not alone with this. This is representation that men can overcome issues. And I always tell my young people that whether your father is present or not, one of the truest measures of your manhood is that you become a little bit better, or you do a little bit more with your life than your father did, no matter what.
Right.
So.
Now, I'm going to get to Kevin in a moment, but I want to ask both of you this question. You know, we've all have our theories and feelings of, you know, what happens in the hood. Fathers are not there. It's almost like when you meet someone and they say, oh, you live with your dad. Your dad lives with you? It's almost like an anomaly if your dad lives there. They look at you like you have two heads. What do you know? But I'm not going to put it on the hip hop, because it's definitely fathers were leaving before hip hop even it was even in existence. What do you think are some of the major contributing factors to individuals who may not recognize the need and importance of being a father to their child?
I think historically, we've almost been all of us have been raised where the mother, that's the job of the mother to raise the children, and then we have systems such as welfare and things where the father cannot be in the household. So there's been systems or things that have just kind of been set up to where it makes it easy for the man to walk away, to step away.
Right.
And unfortunately, we don't have that we're not policing ourselves within our own community to force them to maybe, not necessarily to shun them, but say, listen, you need to stand up, you need to be responsible, you need to take care of your children, because that's what they need. And you need balance in life. You know, whether you have a daughter, whether you have a son, they need to see how two people love one another, how two people get together. Even if they don't love one another, even if they're no longer together, they need to see how the duality of what life is and how they can go on to be productive people in society.
Definitely, definitely. Now, I know you contributing, right, and you have something here on truth and reconciliation. That's real. But right up under it, there's a passage, and can I read, before you get to, I just want to read that little passage. And it says, actions have reactions. Don't be quick to judge. You may not know the hardships people don't speak of. It's best to step back and observe with truth, for we must all meet our moment of truth. Guru, Moment of Truth, 1998. And that's serious right there, in so many different ways, but I'm not going to digress into it. I definitely want you to talk about truth and reconciliation.
Okay. All right, again, I'm going to read two different passages, and the passages tend to deal with before, when I was taken to court for child support, and then afterwards. My second court date brought a new judge that told me I might have to quit college in order to find a job. Suddenly, I'm labeled a deadbeat dad, despite the fact that I continued to make payments while searching for work. I started to pick up newspapers, early editions, at 2 a.m. just to get a jump on the competition. Eventually, I found a job just before my third court appearance. At the appearance, the judge congratulates me and schedules another court date. My payments will be determined after I receive several paychecks. While waiting for my final support order, Simone asked me to bypass the system and pay her directly. With that, she would drop the support case, she promised. She asked this of me because the time between my payments to the child support office and her receipt of the check was taking too long. This was creating problems, and Chantel's daycare, that's my daughter Chantel, they threatened to put her out. I opted to pay the center directly, but Simone did not drop the case. In the meantime, the court mistakenly garnished double the temporary support order amount. Before all of this is corrected, I was in my own financial bind. I borrowed money from friends and family and strongly considered making money illegally with some old associates.
Wow. Now that's real, and that last particular line is so powerful, because you know that instantly took me back to Biggie, when he says, "This goes out to all the people that called the cops on me when I was just trying to make some money to feed my daughter." And it's so real, because you know we recognize, like, brother, selling drugs, that you might, when I say you might sell drugs or whatever you have to do, you hustle so you can feed your family. But the reality is, and the sad irony is, as you're earning revenue that's going to enable you to feed your child, that's revenue coming out of someone else in your same community that's going to not make them able to feed their child. Now I want to ask you, since you went through that situation, why do you think it's so, it seems like it's biased. For the ladies to go to court, it's no problem, but for the men, it's just a whole nother dynamic. why do you think it was such an issue for the brothers when we were on that side of the spectrum, Kev?
I really wish I had the answer. There's the second part of what happened to me was 4 months after I graduated, I took custody of my daughter. She's living with me for 8 years. I hadn't really received any child. I've received in those 8 years maybe $1,000 worth of support. Yeah, I didn't want to push it, didn't want to press anything. Just I'm raising my daughter. Things are great.
Right.
At this point, the mother started pressing for custody. So I said, okay, it's time to make this official. I'm not going through this foolishness again. Go to court for child support. After we run the numbers, they say, okay, she should pay $380 a month. I'm like, okay. Suddenly the judge looks at her and says, well, how much can you afford to pay? No, she says, I can't afford $380. So he says, well, how much can you afford to pay? She says, $250. So it was ordered. And I'm thinking, okay, like I have to be dreaming here. Like the judge told me a few years ago to drop out of college. Now she gets to name her amount, and that's what we're gonna pay.
Wow.
So I take it, I appeal the court case, and I appeal it to a higher court. They put it back at $380. She appeals. Now she cites that she's having another child, and she can't afford to pay that. So the judge says, okay, $250 it is. And I was just amazed because I know plenty of men that have had additional children, and I know that the judge does not say, oh, you know what, you're having another child? You can pay the first one less child support because you have to take care of the child. They would tell them that you shouldn't have planned, you can't afford that child, you shouldn't have done that. But suddenly, here I was, and as I felt, paying $130. $130 wasn't going to my daughter, it was instead going to her additional child a month. And I just had to deal with this situation. And I was extremely, as you could imagine, I was extremely angry.
I'm sure.
And it took me a long, long time to deal with that situation. And the only way, I just had to leave it alone. I couldn't appeal it anymore because I was consumed with anger. And that's kind of why it talks about truth and reconciliation, where I just, after spending time in South Africa and them telling their stories about what they went through in their truth and reconciliation hearings, I'm thinking, wow, my issue is so minor. It's money, it's something that angers me, but that's minor compared to what they had to deal with. And as a country, they were able to heal, to get over the situation. So I came back and I said, okay, I need to be able to apologize. Not apologize, I need to be able to get over it.
Right.
Wasn't able to get over it. And it wasn't until actually when writing the piece, and there is something definitely therapeutic in the writing. After writing the piece, I realized, well, truth and reconciliation happened after apartheid was over. After it was all over, then they were able to move forward and move on. And my daughter just turned 21 on November 19th.
Wow, beautiful.
And I remember she calls me up and she tells me, and I said, you know what? It's over. It's over, it's over, it's over. Like, no, I don't have to worry about your mother anymore, the child support that I'm receiving or not receiving that you should owe. And at that point, it really was this burden lifted off of me. Even though she's in arrears, she owes me money. I don't care. I don't have to deal with it. I don't have to fight with it. And I feel like now is the time for the reconciliation.
Definitely. And then that's real. And I definitely, I commend you for being a father to your child. I definitely commend you for stepping up and, just staying attached, because there's so many brothers that say, you know what, whatever, I send the check, it's your kid, I do what I got to do, and we want to be carefree and free. But like I said, there's a lot that do recognize it. Now, I want to, I have my own theory, but it seemed like when we are fathers to our children, the media attention is this much.
Right. Yeah.
But when we're not fathers to our children, the media attention, I can't even begin to show the depth and the breadth of it.
Right.
Why do you think they don't want to showcase when we do positive? Because I can empathize and sympathize with your situation. Shaun?
Well,
I mean, I'm a dad. You're not a,
no, I'm not.
You're not that dad, okay?
No.
But you know some dads.
Oh yeah,
and I'm sure they say, Shaun, you lucky you're not a dad.
I know fathers, but I know a lot of children, and I know a lot of black men who aspire. I've taught throughout Brooklyn, Harlem, the Bronx, and you could walk into any classroom and say to black men, what do you want to be when you grow up? And you're going to hear a rapper, a basketball star, or a street pharmacist, unfortunately. And I think it's a dangerous thing with just the whole media representation of black men, because these are the only figures that a lot of us see. a lot of our young people see making it, you know, where the balance, white men, white young boys, they could turn on the television and they see doctors,
Right.
lawyers, you know, they see Superman, so they have white people flying through the sky, you know.
Right,
so
right,
they could aspire to anything, but I think, you know, you ask why is that? You know, I don't know why that is. I could throw out some conspiracy theories.
Right,
but
exactly. And that's why, and actually when I ask why, it's really a theory because, you know, and a lot of times we know all conspiracy theories are actually sometimes realities, but they just want to mask them as a theory because nobody wants to accept the truth of what it is.
Right.
And I appreciate that. But now we have a change. You know, we have a black man going to be the president of the United States of America.
Right.
Something that you and I definitely thought we probably would never see. We fought for it hard, and I'm sure you. I want to know, do you think it's going to have an effect on how young black males start conducting themselves, how their ability and their desire to recognize the need for them to be a father to their child if they are one, because he definitely represents a model of a black family. You know, you got the black man, his wife, the two daughters, and they're a black family. You understand what I'm saying? And clearly, you know, a baby girl will have a do beyond and getting it in. So I love the way that's going to look. Probably somebody's the joke that says it's going to be rollers and hot pins in the White House. You know what I'm saying? But when you think about you know what was accomplished, how do you think that will shape, hopefully, the being a father to your child and young black males and young males? How do you think that's going to enable them to start recognizing, well, maybe you know what, I need to step my game up a little bit?
Well, I'm hoping that the vision, the fact of him being out there as a father, as a family man, that it will give people the voice. They'll have the opportunity to talk and discuss their stories. Like one of the things about the book is the great part about it is the diversity in it, the diversity of what the black male experience is, what fatherhood is. And while there are those negative aspects, there also are those positive aspects. While there are things where people have maybe had to go through with the absentee father, they've been able to overcome and they've been able to right the ship. And okay, this is how I'm going to become a father. I'm going to make sure that this no longer happens, that I break this cycle. And I'm hoping that as people begin to see them and they're able to begin to accept like that black males, the black fathers, we're just very diverse and there's a number of different stories that we can display. I'm hoping that really begins to take hold and people stop looking they stop looking down on, this guy's a sucker, he's doing this, he stayed with that woman, he's a sucker, like that type of thing. I'm hoping we just really able to move forward and accept a number of different things.
Now there's another project, another project that you're working on. I was reading in the bio, something to do with 21st century, right? What's that project?
Well, the book,
It's a book.
Well, the book helps support the 21st Century Foundation.
Okay.
Now, the 21st Century Foundation is an old established foundation. And there's an initiative, the Black Men and Boys Initiative.
Right, Black Men and Boys.
All of the proceeds from the book, all 24 writers, we've given up our rights to royalties. All of the royalties go to support the Black Men and Boys Initiative. One thing I need to add is kind of the foundation or the seed for this book kind of started from Lauren Harris.
Okay.
He's a brother that he was at Howard with us for a moment. Lauren Harris, and he works for the Ford Foundation. He's a program officer for the Ford Foundation, and he helped to start the fund to kind of give the seed to. This was the birth. This was his idea about the book, getting people together, and so through his initiative, through him helping out, and then us leading it with the 21st Century Foundation. That's why all of our royalties are going to the Black Men and Boys, because we want to be able to have the opportunity to give back. We go out, we want to speak to schools, we want to speak to students, we want to speak to just the people, whatever community we can be a part of.
Right. Now the editor of the book, Miss April Silver, she's the top dog in charge, head brass, and our beautiful sister from Howard as well. She's the CEO of Keeler Works Songs. They're doing 15 years celebration, I know, right now.
Right.
What was it like? Because, Nia Force, I wasn't actually a part of Nia Force, officially a member, but I was definitely there, definitely in spirit on the yard and all that.
Right.
What was it like, working on this project with, and real quickly with April?
Well, April, I'm new to meeting April, and she trusted me. I came to the project very late, like all the other men. I hear stories about them writing their essays, and they had 2 years, months.
Right.
But I came very late to the project, and I had about 2 weeks, you know, and April was calling me saying, you know, you need to do this or you're not going to be in the book. And I submitted a draft to her, and she read it, and she said, this isn't an essay, you know, and I had to go and redo something else. But it was just her trust that a story and that a message would come that I was very grateful for and very appreciative to April for.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Well, I definitely appreciate your brothers being on the show, talking about the book, Be a Father to Your Child. My people out there, it's a real serious situation. Fathers need their children. Children need their fathers. Mothers need their husbands of their children. And that's the unit. You know, once upon a time, you know, no matter what we had to deal with, we stuck it out. We were together. And now, unfortunately, you know, we seem to not, you know, hold each other down. I don't know if that's still the traces and remnants of the Willie Lynch effect. You know, that's a whole nother story, you know. But whatever the case may be, as a President-elect's agenda for this election was change, it's definitely a time for change. It's a time for us to recognize the importance of being the family unit once again. It's important for us to realize as men what our responsibilities are, irrespective of what we may want to do, as opposed to what we should be doing, what's necessary for us to do. Ladies, women, it's important that you do not coddle your sons and allow them to not be responsible and make excuses for the things that they don't do. So I just want to recognize that and recognize the greatness in this book, Be a Father to Your Child. Real talk from black men on family, love, and fatherhood, because black men love, black men have family, and we want to be family and we want to be loved. So I want to thank my guests for being a part of the show. And like I always say, be mindful, be prosperous, keep your head up, be a father to your child, love yourself. Let's build the black family, let's keep the black family together, and we can accomplish all our dreams and all our goals, and make our communities a much better place to be. It's a beautiful situation.
Oh, you can find the book at the website beafathertoyourchild.com.
Right? Okay. Remember, all the proceeds go to a positive cause. So don't think it's about the money. This is bringing knowledge, empowerment, economic empowerment, social empowerment, moral empowerment, cultural empowerment, spiritual empowerment. Whatever the case may be, empowerment is definitely the key. Like we always say, keep your head up. Till next time, peace.